had nothing to say. You chose to walk, give what we had away. I hope you get what you're looking for, but babe, with me.
People at the vlog, look who is back in the vlog. She's been away at training for 2 months. And now she's home. Okay. She's just asleep. You're home, you're home. Hey guys, welcome to a new reading vlog. This vlog is the first vlog of July. In July, we are mood reading all month long. Let's look at the weekly TBR. The first book I have is Bret Easton Ellis and the Other Dogs by Lena Wolf, translated by Frank Perry. I read you all a line from the back of the book every week. To the east in Barcelona, an unflappable teenage girl is endeavoring to trace the peculiarities of her life back to one woman, Alba Cambo, writer of violent short stories who left Caudle as a girl and never went back. So that is what is actually currently happening in the book. Next, we have the main focus. Right now, I started last night. I am 11% of the way into it, and that is The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom by Sherry Frankie. From Eldest Child, Sherry Frankie, the shocking true story behind the viral 8 Passengers family vlog and the hidden abuse she suffered at the hands of her mother, and how in the face of unimaginable pain, she found freedom and healing. I used to watch 8 Passengers back when I was in high school because I found them to be relatable, as they were Mormon. I grew up in a very evangelical, I went to an evangelical high school. And with 8 Passengers, they had older children like Sherry and Chad, so I found relatability in it. Thankfully, there wasn't abuse going on behind doors for me. But knowing everything, watching them, this case was such a shock when it came out. So now we are getting Sherry's story. I'm doing the audiobook where she is narrating it. And then lastly, I will be starting a new ebook tonight, and that is The Goal by Elle Kennedy. This series is no longer available in Kindle Unlimited. You have to pay for it. But this one has unplanned pregnancy from a one-night stand. She's good at achieving her goals, which is Sabrina James, but the game just got a whole lot more complicated. I will be starting that tonight. And those are the books that I'm focusing on this week so far, anyway. I have my ring light on, so I don't know how that's looking, but I got to 57% in The House of My Mother. I read 140 something pages. I have been on a real reading kick from the weekend to now, but what is happening in the book is we're seeing the family get brainwashed, the cult activity with connections, all of that is starting to go down. Sherry has just started her freshman year at BYU. So that is what is happening. And then we do have my notes. The first one coming in chapter 7. Now, I was shocked that the kids were allowed to watch SpongeBob and Harry Potter, which I do kind of remember Sherry and some of her younger siblings reading the Harry Potter books, but in my upbringing, I was allowed. I didn't have restrictions to media, but so many people I know weren't allowed to watch those things, so I'm kind of shocked that they were allowed to. And we have Sherry finding solace in history. She was really fascinated by World War II when she was in middle school, and it was just kind of a comfort thing for her, because she was like, at least I'm not going through something like that, like the Third Reich. She was comparing her own abuse that she was going through to real history. And this is something that I've always kind of known, that vlogging just falls so in line with what the LDS stands for. Of a lot in the past, they encourage journaling every day so that future generations can look at it and learn something from it, which I personally I really like that. And in vlogging, I always tell y'all, these vlogs are like a diary for me. I go back and watch old ones and just see how my opinions have changed, or how my life has changed. It does well in their community and doing their mission, getting their religious beliefs out there and everything, spreading the word. So how those things fall in line with one another, but we really see that from being a YouTuber, that really like was fanning the flame for Ruby's narcissism and her need for validation. Ruby is Sherry's mother, by the way. Sherry can see that her mother had her own struggles and unaddressed pain with deep-seated issues, and a lot of that is Ruby really wanted to become a mother to have control so she could be the one in charge. It all stems back to her own childhood and everything, and then the vlogging, having people comment saying, oh, I wish I had a mother like you, or blah blah blah, those kind of things. That really just is fanning the flame to the narcissism that Ruby has. But Sherry is like very honest with those experiences with her mom, and times that she has felt compassion for her mother, even though her mother would go on to do very awful things. I mean, she had always been doing bad things, but to the extent that we know that it gets to, or I know that it gets to, I don't know how well y'all are familiar with this case. But with the honesty, Sherry had her own YouTube channel. I don't think she still does, but at one point she did, and she was exploiting her siblings on there, and she's honest and like saying that's something that she feels tremendous guilt about. But for me, I'm like, you were a kid at the time, you didn't know any better. And it was just all this system that they were kind of in, of they would get rewarded if they did certain things for the vlog. Like one time Ruby was like, I'll pay you $100 if you let me wax your eyebrows in the vlog, all that kind of stuff. I do remember back in the day, because y'all know I'm always reading the snark threads on like Reddit. I wasn't Reddit at the time for me, I wasn't on Reddit back then, but on like gossip threads about the family, and everybody, like, people hated Sherry. Like, they were saying, like she said in here, people were calling her a kiss ass and all of that, but you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes, because Ruby is like, she is saying that she just wanted validation. She wanted a relationship with her mother, but her mother wouldn't give her that, so she wanted to be like the best and most obedient daughter ever. But the thing is that I'm looking back, I'm like, people were really hating on a kid, a teenage kid, a middle schooler, saying all that stuff about her. Like, I saw it firsthand. To me, this is messed up. Like, what were people doing? And we even had one point where the bishop suggests Sherry to get some therapy, because Ruby was really against Sherry getting therapy, but her dad was like, because Sherry realized that she was depressed, and her dad, Kevin, was like, Ruby, this is serious. We need to get her help. And Ruby was like, no, she just needs to exercise and sleep better, eat better, that kind of thing, which I had been told with my own health back then. But her bishop was even telling her, I think you need to talk to a therapist, because we've gone through this same conversation multiple times, and this was mainly about like her feeling guilt for having like a relationship with a boy. And in my personal experience, from what I've seen of others, it was like so different, where it was just like, here's Bible verses, which I do think that can be empowering, but I do think some people need something a little bit deeper. So just seeing a religious figure telling somebody that they need therapy, that was just something I've never seen before. Ruby is such like an omnipresent being, where Sherry always feels like she has that, the angel and devil on her shoulder watching over her, being like, if I tell the therapist something, is it going to get back to Ruby? It's just, it's so like, I can't imagine. Earlier when we spoke about Ruby wanting to be a mother to have control, the reason she wants to be a mother and how she just corrupts motherhood so much, because I do believe motherhood is a very beautiful thing. And even with what the LDS Church says, Ruby really just took it and did an extreme, that she's saying that she's doing it for religious reasons, but really it's wanting to have that control. Yeah, it's just a corruption level of motherhood. Loved this wording, truth-seeking missiles. So Ruby and Jody, they would just be, who is going to be the target next to missiles, saying, calling out somebody, trying to play victim. Just, oh my gosh, I come across it so much in my life of people who can't admit to being wrong, so they're throwing out things at other people. So just seeing that word, and I'm like, yeah, really, yeah, I get it. But today, and I wrote this note in chapter 21, I am really getting an understanding of connections and how Jody was able to manipulate this family and manipulate other people into getting into her program. She's a life coach, that's what she is, and this really focuses on truth, honesty, desertion. These are like her big things. And reading this, because before I'm like, oh my gosh, how did they let this lady brainwash them? How does that even happen? But now, like, reading this, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, she's just prying on vulnerable people and really getting in their heads. And especially like somebody like Sherry, who's a young teenager in high school when this is happening, that's when somebody is very vulnerable. They're growing up, and Sherry talks about that, being a young adult with all these changes in your life. That's so easy for somebody to jump in and pry on. And definitely see the inner workings of this and how Jodi was able to infiltrate these people's lives. It is not Wednesday, it's Tuesday. I am a hot mess. Like, I was very sweaty. It's gonna be like a crazy update. I had to go to the law office earlier just to do probate stuff. Almost done with that. I know we've been doing this for so long, over a year, but that's how it is in South Carolina. I got attacked by a cat. That was before Bud attacked me. This is like a weekly occurrence. That happens once a week. And then a mosquito attacked me. That's happened several times today. And then the hot mess part. We cleaned our sunroom and some of our deck, and it was 94 degrees. So doing all that in the heat, even though we do have AC and a fan out there, but still, you're in an all glass room, so it's hot. And it was just moving furniture, dusting, sweeping, all that kind of stuff. So, but I did finish The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie, and I can't say this is a 3.5. It is a 3.5, but it was actually a 3.6 when I did the math. But that goes in as a 3.5, and I feel good about that rating. That's what I would rate this book. Let's go into my review. So, self-admittedly, I was a subscriber to the 8 Passengers YouTube channel because I was a teenager at the time, and obviously didn't know how exploitative, and that's not how you say that family vlogging was. Because, I mean, I was a kid, because Sherry and I were in high school at the same time, Sherry, the author of the book, and that's why I liked the channel, because the kids were older, I could relate more to them, and we talked about earlier in the vlog that they were in a conservative, they were in LDS when I was in more like just regular evangelical Christian upbringing. So I found them to be very relatable. Obviously, I did not know everything that was happening behind the scenes. But since I did follow the channel, I did eventually find out that family vlogging isn't a good thing. And that made me follow this case as it was happening. So I knew a lot of this already, but I could have never guessed the things that were going on in Sherry's personal life and just how her relationship, or lack thereof, with her mother, how that just bled into all other parts of her life, which makes so much sense. That just, we talk about all the time about how you're raised really shapes who you are as a person, and then generational trauma. But this really showed me how this family and a lot of other people could be engulfed by Jodi Hildebrandt and her brand, or whatever, her program Connections. It's so easy to be like, oh, that's crazy, how could somebody fall for that? But just seeing how manipulative Jodi was and would take control of either lives of young people or of mentally unstable people, just preying on the vulnerable. That's what predators do, isn't it? And just seeing how she could pounce in on that, see dollar signs with it, is so awful. Sherry, we see how she was engulfed by it, how she was taking it because her mom wanted her to take these programs, take these sessions with Jodi. So Sherry was even believing the program, but then she started to wake up. So we see how she got involved with that program and got out of the same thing. And we also see how Ruby had such a corrupt and twisted view of motherhood that she saw it as a form of control. And it was just such eye-opening, that knowing that people can believe these kind of things and what people will do. And Ruby is, like, in the epilogue of the book, it talks about how it's popular to say somebody's a narcissist nowadays, but like Ruby actually was a narcissist, somebody lacking empathy. And it really, you can just see how mature Sherry is as a person, because she's like, it's not an excuse for my mother's actions, but I can see that she was a person who had deep-seated wounds herself and was somebody who also was looking for validation, and that she just didn't have the proper help that she needed, and how that made her into the monster that she became. And that Sherry does want redemption for her mother. She wants her mother to, she might not want a relationship with her mother, but she does want her mother to realize what she did and grow from that. So that was something that was so amazing, of just seeing how mature Sherry is. And you can tell that she's somebody who is in the process. I don't think you can ever say I'm officially healed. I think that it's a process of healing, and you can see that she is on that process, of that she is doing everything she can to get her life back on track and to protect her siblings as the eldest daughter. And yeah, it's just so mature. Yeah, you can just see that she's grown and can look back at these experiences and really have an understanding of her own personal experience. The writing style is very intelligent. You can just see how smart she is, and she definitely has a bright future ahead of her wherever she wants to go with that. I don't know if it's going to be writing more books, but I do think she has a bright future ahead. But at the end, I do have some lingering questions. Like, we had this one scene of her having like a confrontation with her brother Chad, and then later on, because he was kind of still standing up for Ruby, because he's like, that's my mom, even if she's doing all this, that's my mom. And Sherry was like, no, Ruby is abusive and all of this. So they have a big disconnect. They don't talk anymore. But when obviously everything is exposed, Ruby is arrested, they are together again, and we do see them building a relationship again. I would have liked a little bit more on that, but I do get that could be Chad's story to share of how they rekindled their relationship, and Sherry doesn't want to speak for her other siblings. She doesn't want to exploit them like her mother did, so I can obviously respect that. But yeah, this was definitely an empowering read. I don't want to sound parasocial, being like, oh, this is a girl that I used to watch on YouTube when we were both teenagers, and I can't help but feel proud for her of seeing everything that she's going through, and obviously seeing that she has grown as a person, and she's in the process of healing and working on herself. And I think that's so important and inspiring. So yes, I would recommend this book, and I think it was a good book. So I will be starting another mood read, since it is technically still June, and with finishing my June TBR, I am permitted to read mood reads for the rest of the month. So I will be starting a new book at 9, and that is Margo's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe. There was a TV show with this recently, so it's been like everywhere back in the spring, especially when the TV show aired. So I do want to read the book before I see the show. If there's a short blurb here, that's what I will read out loud. A bold, laugh out loud, funny and heartwarming story about one young woman's attempt to navigate adulthood, new motherhood, and her meager bank account in our increasingly online world. So I will be starting this, and I will be doing the audiobook, starting that at 9 o'clock. So I am about to start my first read of the July TBR. I figured I would start with my graphic novel, nonfiction graphic novel, because The Wedding People, since it's the book club pick, I want to have a whole vlog dedicated to it, which will be next week's vlog. So we're going to save that for next week and read this instead over the weekend, because this will take me a while to get through. It is on the lengthier side. But this is Sapiens, A Graphic History, The Pillars of Civilization, Part 2. Let's see what it is about. It focuses on the agricultural revolution, when humans fell into a trap we've yet to escape, working harder and harder without getting a better life in return. But if you're into anthropology, I think you might like this series, and then Sapiens the book, but I know some people prefer graphic novels and find them easier to digest, especially nonfiction when you're taking in a lot of information. So I do recommend the graphic novel and the actual book. I don't know what to call that, the nonfiction book. I recommend that as well. But I am going to start this. I'm going to read in the sunroom since we cleaned it up. We will see if Bud behaves. If she doesn't, I will just send her into the house, because she is somebody who, she needs attention a lot. She will be nipping me if I don't give her attention. Bad behavior. I know that's why she'll get excommunicated, exiled, if she doesn't behave. But I'm going to attempt to read out there. I did get to read on the porch, but that's not my update. I went to Barnes & Noble and I got 3 books because I'm not doing a big haul this month because my birthday's this month and I do my birthday haul. So first book, young adult classic, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. I wanted to see this movie, but obviously I have to read the book first, and it only has 171 pages, so I can definitely do that. Next, I got a romance book, and that is Abby Offsides by Anna McCallie. And this witty and heartfelt debut, a woman's impulsive journey across the pond after a broken engagement leads her to a new love and a new version of herself. This one just sounds so juicy and gossipy, messy. Then the pick this month that I picked up, so I got $5 off, is The Shampoo Effect by Jenny Jackson. This one we have Catherine Newman, Ellen Hildebrand, Coco Mellers, Rebecca Searle. They're all leaving blurbs on this. This is a dazzling, funny, sexy, and juicy as it is astute. The Shampoo Effect is a story of late night parties, early mornings with small children, the dawn of midlife, and a group of old friends finally growing up despite all their best efforts to the contrary. I love this cover. These are the books that I picked up at Barnes & Noble this month. I read 40% in Sapiens, so I think this will get me to the weekend. What am I going to do over the weekend with my reading? I don't know yet. Well, let's go over my notes. My first one is we have this timeline at the very start of going from 13.8 billion years ago to modern day, and that made me think, especially reading Clan of the Cave Bear, when did memory of the Neanderthals end? Like, how long did that last, having that memory? I don't know if it ever existed. It had to, because they coexisted for a little while and stuff happened. So I'm very curious as how long that memory would have stayed in the mind of sapiens. A big thing we talked about in here today was the domestication of flora and fauna, and that it was in a select few places where this happened because they had the proper things. Like in the Middle East, we had grain and wheat, and that gradually went a lot of places. Also animals, because that's just what animals happen to be there, and that's why we have a handful of animals that are domesticated. There were some places though that didn't have anything that could be domesticated, that being Australia, South Africa, and Alaska. Funny, they all kind of start with A's. I know South Africa doesn't, but one of the words does. I thought that was an interesting discussion. And with it, it's really critiquing, was the agricultural revolution a good or a bad thing? On page 22, we see that humans start to have wear on their bodies when we find skeletons of this time period. They're like on the joints, and the disc in the back might be dislocated because they were working in the fields when previously they weren't working these long hours. This is really when we get into humans having a job that they have to do. And with farming, there was an uptick in violence because there's always going to be somebody who mishandles what they own. They might eat through all their food, so they are left hungry because they went through all their stores. So they're going to go rob and raid somebody else's grain stores. That caused violence, and therefore just hunger, disease, and violence really started to happen. We see an increase in population, a population boom at this time, because before, when they were hunter-gatherers, they were following a herd of animals. So you can't carry 4 kids. So you have one baby and wait until it's old enough to, go around on its own, then have your next baby. Now we see farming, you're being stationary in one place, you have more food sources, so therefore more kids are being born and the kids will help in the fields. So we do see a population boom. But as I said previously, we had hunger, disease, and violence. We see upticks in all those things with hunger, because with not hunting, but with agriculture, what if it floods? What if there's not enough rain? What if parasites come and infect your crops? There's a lot of stuff like that that can happen, and then ill management as well. But disease, we have all these people together in a village now with sewage, rats, fleas, everything, when before hunter-gatherers, they were nomadic, they were following the animals, they were in one place, they weren't stationary. And another point that I thought was interesting, they are talking about how the impacts we see today from the agricultural revolution and the domestication of animals, so thinking pigs, cows, chickens, and it goes into cows and the dairy industry. Why do we drink another species' milk? No other species does that. You don't see a wolf drinking deer milk. You don't see a sheep drinking milk from another animal. Why do we drink cow milk? And they were having the argument that, because there are like characters in here, if you didn't see that, they were having an argument that babies should drink their mother's milk, and then once they get weaned off, you don't drink milk again. I did personally buy milk today because it helps with my acid reflux, but yeah, it really makes you think, why are we drinking another animal's milk and how did that all get started? And I'm going to end my notes here that government is a man-made concept. That was when I read the book of Sapiens, where just all these different things that are man-made concepts, I'm like, whoa. A lot of times they say here, imagined orders. So governments, we talked about Hammurabi's Code and then the Declaration of Independence, fitting that we had the 4th of July this week. But imagined orders are just the only way to get lots of strangers to cooperate. That's what government is. And those are my notes. It is time for the last update. Also, fun fact, I got this shirt. This was the first piece of clothing I ever bought online. And I wore on my first day of middle school. And these shorts I got in London when I was in high school. So, kind of vintage clothing over here. Not really, it's not vintage yet. For me, it has to be 25 years old to be vintage. So I'm vintage. But let's talk about Sapiens. I didn't read in the 3 o'clock hour because Delilah got home at 2 and we just talked with her trainer and everything. Went over some of her commands and how to work like her e-collar, and that went till 3. I think she left at 3:01, the trainer, and I was like, okay, I don't want to get into reading right now. I want to just get her adjusted to being home. And so I read in the 6 to 7:30 reading sprint, and I got to page 162. I have 90 pages left of the book, so I do think I'll be able to finish it tomorrow, so stay tuned for my bookish social media and my blog. I will have a review up in those places, but I have 2 notes today that this is a lot of information I'm taking in. A lot of it today was still about how so much money, romanticism, capitalism, consumerism, all that is man-made concepts. That's just not part of being human. That's not just a nature thing. It is something that we've developed, ideas that humanity has developed. It was a lot of that still. And then the next, so what's going on now is we are talking about the introduction of writing and numbers into society. So it's just so much information that I'm taking in, and I hope that it's sticking because it's just a lot. But since I have read the physical book version of this, I do have some previous knowledge that is very helpful because, so this is all technically stuff that I have read before, but in a different adaptation. Let's go through the weekly wrap up. I've completed 1 book this week, that being The House of My Mother, and that was a great book. I do recommend it. And I have read over 100 pages every day this week. I read over 149 yesterday. And today, so far, I've read 75 pages. So yes, I will most likely read over 100 pages today. What a sneak peek for next week, I'm going to be reading the book club pick, and that will be The Wedding People by Alison Espich. This is about a character who is thinking of ending her life. She goes to a hotel to do it, and turns out that they think she's part of this wedding party there because everybody there is a part of this wedding party, and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't end my life at a wedding, that would be awful. So it's just delaying the process, and her deciding if she should do this big act or not. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're having a happy and safe 4th of July if you're in the United States. So leave some kind of red, white, or blue emoji in the comments below. And as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!